think you're playing it safe, grabbing a quick lunch from a chain restaurant you've known for years. Maybe it's a burger, a wrap, or just some home-style comfort food on a road trip. But what if that meal comes with a side of bacteria, a microwave-warmed mystery, or ingredients that haven't been fresh in weeks in the last 12 months? Over 300 fast food and casual dining locations across the US have failed health inspections due to violations like improper food storage, rodent activity, and contaminated prep areas. That's not just gross, it's dangerous, especially for older Americans with compromised immune systems or underlying conditions. So the real question isn't, where should I eat? It's what is being hidden behind those drive-through windows and smiling cashiers, because the wrong lunch spot could do more than upset your stomach. It could ruin your trip, land you in the ER, or worse. This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. And today, we will break down 7 restaurants you should never eat lunch there. Let's begin. Number 1, Popeyes. At first glance, Popeyes may not strike you as a place to avoid for lunch. It's got that warm southern charm, a fried chicken aroma that fills the air, and a menu that looks satisfyingly hearty. But dig a little deeper, especially if you're on the road, at a gas stop, or passing through a busy airport, and you'll find a string of unsettling truths that should make you think twice before ordering anything off their lunch menu. Let's start with what's on your plate. Popeye's lunch menu often features staples like fried chicken sandwiches, spicy tenders, mac and cheese, and their well-known biscuits. But those biscuits, they're not baked fresh every day. They arrive frozen in massive shipments and are tossed into ovens that are used for reheating nearly everything, from leftover fries to heat lamp chicken. It's a one-size-fits-all kitchen strategy that sacrifices hygiene for speed. The mashed potatoes and gravy, not the real deal either. The potatoes come from powdered flakes, rehydrated in industrial-sized batches, and that savory brown gravy. It's a dry mix stirred with water until it vaguely resembles something homemade. Quick, easy, and shockingly artificial. The real red flag comes from what you don't see, which is what's going on behind the counter. Popeye's kitchens are small, not designed for high-volume lunch crowds with safety in mind. During the rush, raw chicken, cooked sides, and fresh produce are prepped in dangerously close quarters. Cutting boards are reused without proper sanitation. Gloves aren't always changed between tasks. And food sits under heat lamps far longer than any health inspector would advise. An ex-manager from a Louisiana-based franchise revealed that during high lunch demand, leftover chicken from the previous night often gets reheated and disguised with extra sauce. It's not a fresh meal, just a lame repackaged leftover. You'd expect better from a place that claims to serve Louisiana fast, but speed too often comes at the cost of safety and freshness. Even more concerning is that the majority of Popeyes locations are franchised, meaning there's no uniform standard of cleanliness. One location might follow protocol, while another just a few miles away could be cutting corners to save time or money. There's no way to tell just by walking in, but the risks, they're real, especially if you're older, traveling, or have health concerns that make foodborne illness far more serious. For travelers in particular, this is where the danger compounds. Airport Popeyes locations often operate with skeleton crews, minimal kitchen space, and even less time to follow basic food safety procedures if you're eating lunch on the go. This isn't just about convenience anymore, but about gambling with your health in a high-risk environment. And here's the truth. The appeal of a quick, comforting meal masks a system that prioritizes quantity over quality. You think you're getting a bite of Southern comfort, but what you're often getting is a meal that's been sitting out for hours, loaded with preservatives, reheated in bulk, and served by staff juggling 3 tasks at once in a cramped, chaotic space. This is not just a quality issue, but a safety one, when your lunch has a greater chance of being pre-cooked, pre-mixed, and pre-forgotten. The risk of cross-contamination, undercooked poultry, or unsanitary handling goes up significantly. That's dangerous. So next time you're hungry and see the Popeyes sign lighting up across a travel plaza or tucked into a busy street corner, ask yourself, is it worth it? Are you really getting a fresh, hot meal, or just the illusion of one lunch shouldn't come with hidden hazards? And unfortunately, at Popeyes, it too often does. Number 2, Wendys. Wendys might be known for its square burgers and clever commercials, but their push into the lunch crowd has raised more concerns than applause. Marketed as bold, fresh, and a shakeup to the usual fast food game, their newer lunch offerings look good in ads but fall apart the moment they hit the tray. What you're getting isn't a fresh meal, it's a plate of frozen fillers wrapped in flashy branding. Let's start with their signature croissant sandwiches. These look luxurious, like something you'd expect from a cozy cafe, but peel back the layers and you find a mass-produced mess. The eggs, not cracked fresh each morning, but shipped in frozen slabs, reheated into a fluffy foam that feels more like packing material than real scrambled eggs. The croissants, also frozen, then either microwaved to thaw or quickly toasted to fake that fresh, baked crisp. The result is a pastry that's rubbery on the inside and dry on the outside. A far cry from the buttery, flaky croissant they promise. Their potato side isn't any better. Wendy's doesn't serve classic hash browns, they serve seasoned wedges. That might sound fancy, but in truth, they're just thick slices of potatoes deep fried and tossed in a heavy coat of salty seasoning powder. These wedges often sit for extended periods in open bins under heat lamps, losing their crunch and picking up a stale, greasy aftertaste. Worse, they share fryers with every other menu item, meaning your potatoes could taste like yesterday's chicken nuggets or bacon burgers. There's no real flavor here, just grease. Then there's the sausage. It's not freshly ground pork with herbs and spices. It's pre-cooked, processed meat, loaded with fillers to stretch the batch and keep costs low. One of these sausage croissants can pack in over 800 calories and more than 1,600 milligrams of sodium, before they even add that infamous cheese sauce. That sauce, by the way, isn't real cheese. It's a thick, bright yellow paste made from processed cheese product, emulsifiers, and thickening agents. It may stay warm for hours, but it hides a slew of chemical additives your stomach won't thank you for. Staff at several Wendy's locations have admitted that the lunch shift is poorly managed. It's not unusual to find undertrained workers scrambling to prepare unfamiliar items with little guidance. Night shift employees are sometimes left to prepare morning meals without the proper tools or supervision. Ovens don't always reach safe temperatures in time, fryers get overloaded, and food handling zones are shared across ingredients. Raw, cooked, and in between. This isn't just sloppy, it's dangerous. Even the coffee can't be trusted. Though advertised as fresh brewed, it's often made in large batches and poured into thermal containers. If you show up during a slow hour, especially in airports or travel stops, you're likely to receive a cup that's been sitting for hours. It'll taste burnt, bitter, and riddled with floating coffee grounds. Wendy's might want to play in the big leagues when it comes to fast lunch options, but their playbook is full of shortcuts, frozen ingredients, mass reheating, salt and fat to mask the lack of real flavor. You're not eating a real lunch, you're eating something that was designed in a lab and assembled on an assembly line. For older travelers, especially those trying to stay safe and healthy while on the road, this isn't just disappointing, it's risky. With cross-contamination, inconsistent food handling, and processed heavy menus, eating lunch at Wendy's may leave you with more than just regret. It may leave you with a stomach ache, high blood pressure, or worse, the next time you're looking for a quick lunch on the go. Remember, a flashy menu doesn't equal real food. Skip the soggy croissants, skip the salty wedges, and skip the idea that fast means better. Because when it comes to your health, skipping Wendy's might just be the smartest decision you'll make all day. Number 3, McDonald's. It's hard to talk about fast food lunch without bringing up the most recognizable name in the game, McDonald's. With more golden arches than gas stations across America, it's the place many of us have stopped at when hunger hits at noon. But what appears to be a reliable pit stop hides a deeply unsettling truth. McDonald's has built its empire on the illusion of consistency and convenience, but behind that shiny red and yellow branding is a process that prioritizes industrial control over real food safety. And that spells trouble, especially for older folks looking for something quick and safe. Let's start with the crowd favorite, the McMuffin. While the ads may boast fresh, cracked eggs, that only holds true at select locations. In many outlets, the eggs you get are poured from cartons, liquid blends designed to scramble fast and taste neutral. The folded eggs used in their burritos or biscuit sandwiches. Those aren't made in store, They're factory cooked, flash frozen, and shipped in bulk. From there, employees simply microwave or griddle them to order. It's not cooking, just a food assembly. And speaking of assembly, every sandwich is a pre-planned operation. One bun, one meat, one slice of processed cheese, and one egg, if you're lucky. That cheese isn't aged or natural, it's chemically engineered to melt just right under specific temperatures. Not too quickly, not too slowly, so it maintains that signature ooze. Sounds impressive, right, but there's nothing fresh about it. Now let's talk about their hash browns. Golden, crispy, and salty on a good day. But the truth is, they're fried in bulk, then left to sit in warming trays for hours. During the lunch rush, they fly off the line, but during slow periods, those same hash browns sit, turning from crispy to soggy, and from warm to worryingly lukewarm. When those heat lamps lose power, or worse, aren't working at all, the food becomes a playground for bacteria. Even the seemingly safe items betray your trust. McDonald's oatmeal, for instance, might look like a healthier choice, but it's pre-mixed with cream and sugar before you even see it. A single serving can contain more sugar than a chocolate bar. And the fresh fruit on top that's fruit chunks drowning in syrup. They may sparkle in the cup, but they're more dessert topping than natural produce. But here's the deeper issue. McDonald's kitchen isn't built for precision. It's built for speed. Griddles are used constantly from breakfast through lunch, rarely cleaned between shifts. Oil is reused, often across multiple meal cycles. Storage bins are opened and closed throughout the day, increasing the risk of cross-contamination. And when orders stack up, workers are forced to rush, cutting steps, skipping glove changes, and ignoring temperature guidelines just to keep the line moving. And here's the kicker. Most people eat McDonald's in their cars. They unwrap their sandwiches while driving, trusting that what's in the bag is safe, hot, and properly cooked. But that's a dangerous gamble, especially when your health could depend on how well an underpaid night shift crew followed protocol at 7 in the morning. So let's be clear. McDonald's may be the king of fast food lunches, but that crown comes at a cost. Their system is industrialized efficiency, posing as hospitality. It's frozen food reheated in batches, paired with sodium-heavy sides and sugary, healthy items, all engineered to be consistent but not necessarily safe. For millions, McDonald's might seem like a dependable choice, but behind the golden arches lies a lunch strategy that cuts corners at every turn. And when it comes to food safety, cutting corners is dangerous. Number 4, Sonic Drive-In. By the time you pull into a Sonic Drive-In around lunchtime, especially if you're on the road, tired, and just looking for something quick, you probably expect a little bit of fun to go along with your meal. The roller skating car hops, the retro colors, the cheerful ads with smiling tater tots covered in cheese and bacon. It all paints a picture of a lighthearted, all-American fast food. But behind that happy-go-lucky surface lies a system of food preparation that's not just inconsistent, it's downright risky, especially for older adults or travelers looking for safe and dependable lunch options. Let's start with the eggs, because in many of Sonic's lunch wraps and sandwiches, they're still being used to stretch the menu. Unless you arrive during one of Sonic's rare fresh cook windows, which varies wildly by location, you're likely getting a pre-cooked egg patty. These patties are mass-produced, frozen, trucked across state lines, and then reheated either on a flat-top grill or more commonly in the microwave. The texture, something between foam and plastic. The flavor, less like egg, more like damp cardboard, and according to former employees, once these egg patties cool down, they turn into something so dry and rubbery they're nearly impossible to reheat without turning brittle. Then there's the bread, whether it's the pretzel bun or that so-called artisan ciabatta roll. Don't expect anything fresh baked. Most Sonic buns are shipped frozen, flash thawed, and thrown into service. This means you end up with a bun that's soft but lifeless, no crust, no warmth, no flavor. The biscuits mass baked, kept under heat lamps, and left out so long they dry out before they even meet your sandwich. One online review memorably compared Sonic's biscuits to reheated cardboard dipped in salt water. That was not a compliment. Now add the meat. Sonic's bacon, sausage, and even ham slices are all pre-cooked, frozen, and loaded with sodium. A single sausage, egg, And cheese sandwich can pack in over 1,700 milligrams of sodium. That's more than most older adults should eat in an entire day. You might not notice it under all the grease, but your blood pressure will, and if you have kidney issues. That sandwich is more danger than meal. The layout of Sonic's kitchens doesn't help either. These are small, tightly packed workspaces, sometimes only a few feet wide, during busy hours. Raw ingredients, cooked foods, cleaning chemicals, and allergens all risk ending up on the same cramped counter space. In the rush, gloves go unchanged, surfaces don't get wiped, and food safety takes a back seat. If you've got dietary restrictions, gluten sensitivity, nut allergies, or just a sensitive stomach, this isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous. And let's talk about those famous tots. They're in almost every Sonic lunch combo inside burritos, bowls, and sandwiches, but they're all fried in oil that's been used all day. That same fryer oil might have cooked onion rings, chicken tenders, corn dogs, and more. Employees on review sites have admitted that managers often tell staff to stretch the oil changes as long as possible to avoid slowing down service. That means the oil breaks down, releasing unstable compounds that don't just ruin the taste, they can upset your digestive system and, in some cases, cause real harm to sensitive guts. Then there's the breakfast burrito, which often lingers on Sonic's menu deep into the lunch hour. It's a tightly wrapped bundle of disappointment. Inside, you'll find pre-shredded cheese that melts into rubbery blobs, greasy sausage or bacon, an egg product that's bland at best. Add a few frozen tater tots, maybe a drizzle of overly processed ranch, and what you've got isn't a meal, it's a gut bomb wrapped in foil. People often finish it unsure of whether they just ate food or swallowed a science project. So if you're traveling, trying to stay sharp, and looking for a lunch that won't derail your day, you may want to think twice before pulling into a Sonic, because when you unwrap that sandwich or burrito, what you're holding isn't fast food convenience, it's a gamble. Number 5, Duncan. Let's talk about a place that once stood as a symbol of morning comfort. Duncan. With its cheerful pink and orange branding, it's long been considered a safe, familiar stop for travelers looking for a quick bite or a caffeine boost. But today, Duncan is no longer the neighborhood bakery coffee shop it once was. It's quietly turned into one of the most disappointing and potentially risky lunch stops on the American map, especially for older adults and travelers seeking a dependable, hygienic midday meal. Start with the donuts, the item that built Duncan's entire reputation. Those trays filled with glazed and sprinkled treats might look freshly baked, but in truth, almost none of them are made in store anymore. Instead, they're manufactured off-site in centralized production facilities, flash frozen, shipped out in bulk, and thawed inside the store. That perfect glaze you see, it was applied days ago. The donut itself may have been frozen longer than you'd like to imagine. And while they may still look shiny in the display case, the taste is often flat, the texture dry, and the sugar coating just a thin shell of nostalgia. But things only get worse once you order something warm, like a lunch sandwich. At Duncan, that sandwich is almost always assembled from pre-cooked, vacuum-sealed components, the eggs. They're not scrambled fresh or even cracked open on site. Instead, they're cooked in giant trays at a factory, sealed in plastic, frozen, and then microwaved to order. It's not an egg, it's an egg product, and if you've ever had one of their sandwiches where the egg rubberizes as you chew, now you know why. The meats are no better. Bacon, sausage, even turkey slices, they all arrive pre-cooked and frozen, heavily salted to survive the shipping process. Once in the store, they're reheated, sometimes grilled, but more often microwaved. The result, a sandwich that tastes more like packaging than protein. And yes, you'll smell the microwave long before your food reaches the counter. Now, about that signature coffee, Duncan's claim to fame. Many assume the coffee is what sets Duncan apart, but customer reports tell another story. Depending on the location, you might get a fresh brew, or you might be sipping from a pot that's been sitting on the burner since sunrise. Some employees have admitted to watering down batches to stretch supply, especially during slow hours, so what seems like a strong, reliable cup of coffee might just be bitter, lukewarm leftovers. And don't even think the iced coffee drinks are a better option. Those popular swirl drinks? Caramel, mocha, hazelnut or sugar bombs disguised as beverages. A large caramel swirl latte over 50 grams of sugar, and that's before adding whipped cream or any extra flavor shots. That's more sugar than a can of soda, and certainly not what your doctor wants you sipping after a long drive. Then there's the question of cleanliness. Because most Dunkin' stores are franchised, the quality control between locations is wildly inconsistent. Some are tidy and well-run, others understaffed, undertrained, and visibly neglected. Walk into 2 different Dunkin' stores on the same day, and you might feel like you visited 2 completely different chains. That means food safety, hygiene standards, and basic service are never guaranteed. For travelers, especially older ones trying to eat wisely and avoid unnecessary health risks, Dunkin' simply doesn't offer the dependability its brand suggests. The cheerful logo might still remind you of a simpler time, but what's behind the counter tells a different story. Frozen ingredients, industrial preparation, microwave shortcuts, and way too much sugar and salt. So next time you're on the highway, passing that familiar pink and orange sign, ask yourself, do you want a real lunch or just the illusion of one? Because at Dunkin', what you're really getting is a factory meal with a coffee cup slapped on top. Number 6, Cracker Barrel. At first glance, Cracker Barrel feels like the safest place you could stop for lunch. The rocking chairs, the porch, the smell of maple syrup in the air. It's designed to wrap you in the comfort of a simpler time. The wood-paneled walls, old-timey decor, and nostalgic music playing overhead make it feel more like a family gathering than a corporate chain. But once you sit down, open that oversized menu, and take a closer look at what's really being served, the truth begins to unravel. You're not being fed a homemade country lunch. You're being fed processed, pre-made meals heated fast, served faster, and wrapped in a warm blanket of marketing. Let's start with the famous hash brown casserole. Most customers assume it's freshly grated potatoes, hand-layered and baked with care. But the truth, it arrives in the back of the restaurant in massive frozen bags, already mixed, already cooked, just waiting to be reheated. There's nothing country about it. The eggs. You may think the cook is back there cracking them fresh into a hot skillet, but what you're more likely getting is liquid egg poured from a jug, scrambled quickly on an industrial griddle that's been used since sunrise. The pancakes. Also a disappointment. That buttery, fluffy stack isn't made from scratch. The batter comes pre-mixed in huge tubs loaded with preservatives to extend shelf life. Even the syrup on the table is often corn syrup, not real maple, and the meat's bacon. Sausage. Ham, they might look crispy and fresh on the plate, but most of them were pre-cooked in bulk, stored under heat lamps for hours, or pulled from frozen just moments before hitting the pan. That famous country fried steak you dipped into creamy white gravy. It wasn't breaded in the kitchen, it was processed in a facility hundreds of miles away, then frozen and vacuum sealed. It's not country cooking, it's a cafeteria line disguised with gingham napkins. And then there's the sodium. A full country boy lunch eggs, sausage, biscuits, hash browns, and pancakes can carry over 2,500 milligrams of sodium. That's more than an entire day's recommended amount in one sitting. And if you add gravy, syrup, or a biscuit on the side, you might as well be eating straight from a salt shaker. The sweetness and saltiness might feel familiar and nostalgic, but your body doesn't share the sentiment. Most people leave Cracker Barrel feeling full, but also bloated, tired, and sluggish. Cleanliness is another red flag. Multiple former employees have reported that behind the scenes. Cracker Barrel kitchens don't reflect the cozy charm of the dining room. One ex-cook described the kitchen floor as permanently slick with grease and said deep cleans were rare. The griddles used from morning to night with barely a scrape between meals. That means layers of burned food residue, oil splatter, and carbonized bits coat every surface. When lunch gets busy, there's no time to clean, just time to keep flipping sausages and pouring gravy. Eggs get overcooked, pancakes are rushed, and leftover gravy is often watered down and reused. High turnover makes things worse. Many cooks are new, undertrained, and overwhelmed. Some are just days into the job when they're tasked with preparing complex meals for dozens of customers, when the person making your lunch learned where the spatulas are yesterday. It's hard to believe you're getting anything close to home cooked. Cracker Barrel sells the idea of family, safety, and tradition, but behind the marketing, it's an assembly line operation built for speed and uniformity. If you're an older adult looking for a dependable, safe place to eat during your travels, Cracker Barrel may look like the perfect stop. but the reality is far from comforting. What you're being served is frozen, processed, and cooked by people just trying to get through their shift, not deliver you a wholesome, nourishing meal. Number 7. Carl's Jr. Carl's Jr. might sell itself as the ultimate breakfast stop for those who want it big, but what it delivers is more bravado than substance. Those oversized burritos and steak and egg sandwiches may look impressive in ads, but inside the wrapper, they're a sad reminder of how far fast food has strayed from real cooking. Most locations rely entirely on frozen, pre-packaged ingredients, biscuits frozen, hash browns pre-formed and preserved with chemicals, eggs either from a liquid mix or pre-cooked patties, depending on the store's equipment. Even the bacon that appears crispy in commercials often shows up limp, pale, and mass-produced. The steak. Not real steak, just chopped. Processed meat loaded with fillers, then shaped into strips or patties and frozen. What lands in your burrito is more soy than beef, and when it's unevenly reheated, you're biting into chewy edges and a cold, spongy center. The flavor, mostly salt, artificial smoke, and regret. Worse, the sauces meant to elevate the flavor are shelf-stable, heavily preserved, and sometimes kept unrefrigerated for weeks. One former employee even admitted to reusing squeeze bottles without sanitizing, just topping them off and passing them down the line. That tangy zing on your sandwich, it might not be flavor, it might be bacteria. Health reports across multiple states have cited Carl's Jr. for unsanitary practices, from pest activity in storage areas to food held at unsafe temperatures. But with most breakfast customers in a rush, these problems go unnoticed and unchallenged. Don't trade your safety for convenience. Hit like, subscribe, and stay informed before you unwrap your next lunch.